Okay, so we're still trying to learn how to use the cameras. Cool, so I'm here with Dr Wendy, and we're just going to ask a few questions and answers just to get a bit of background on energy efficiency, and hopefully we can all learn a bit through the process. Just to start off with, how did you get to this place? What's your background in energy efficiency?
My background's actually as a musician to start with, but I went to a TAFE night class in about 1995, and my lecturer there was saying how every kilowatt hour of energy that I was using, electricity I was using, was putting a kilogram of CO2 in the atmosphere, and it would stay there for 60 to 100 years. I had 3 kids at primary school at the time, and I thought, bloody hell.
Yeah.
What I'm doing now is impacting on my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids. I've got to do something about it.
Talk about taking on a career for the right reasons. This certainly made me sit and pay attention. Obviously a lot of this stuff starts to come back to star ratings, and I think, I know myself even, you get a bit confused about what the star ratings are and what they aren't. So just a bit of back history about star ratings. When did they sort of start to arrive in Australia?
In houses, about 2003 was the first time that we had energy efficiency for houses in the national code, but the national code is something that each state can decide whether it will or won't adapt. So the reasoning behind it initially was to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So because space heating and cooling is the biggest use of energy in most Australian houses, so the star rating only relates to how much energy does your house need to consume to create a comfortable temperature for you. So the higher the star rating, the less you have to run your aircon to make you comfortable. Yes.
And what does electricity or heating in general, heating or cooling, what is the percentage of your bill roughly? I don't know, it'd vary a bit around Australia, but
I think the average across Australia is 40%.
Wow, that big.
But obviously that depends from climate to climate. So it's going to be more extreme the further north or the further south you go, whereas the climate zones in the middle, it will be less than that. So so it's quite significant. So if you can address the space heating or cooling, you address a large portion of your energy bill.
That's right. You might, addressing maybe half of it, depending on where you are.
Yes.
So we started off at about, I think we implemented about 3.5 stars. Where are most states at all?
Code at the moment is at 6 out of 10 stars.
Yep.
Queensland, unfortunately, is at 4.5, a minimum of 4.5 out of 10. And there's an expectation that it will go nationally to maybe 7 or higher in 2022.
Yeah.
So just explain how Queensland is only at 4.5 stars.
So when the national code went to 6 stars, the reasoning by some people in the building industry was that you should be able to keep cool if you have a nice outdoor living area and fans, and or if you have solar panels, etc. So those things help you get comfortable. So the Queensland government allowed up to 1.5 stars of compensation for other design things. However, that confuses the issue, because the star rating is really just talking about how does a building naturally keep temperatures within a particular temperature range. Outdoor patios, outdoor fans, PVs are certainly good things, but they do not affect the temperature inside the house. So to my mind, they should be additions to the star rating, not taking away from the performance of the house.
And you see that quite a bit. Initially in Queensland when it came out, there was even people who were sort of adding the 1.5 stars on to whatever they got to, so they were using 6 stars and then calling it 7.5.
And then the marketing people would get hold of that and say, okay, the builder's told me it's 7.5, so it's really a 9 star on top of that. And then we had some houses in Cairns that were saying they were 11 or 12 stars
out of 10.
So by mixing what is the thermal efficiency of the building envelope with other ways in which we might make ourselves comfortable, it's confused the market. And the sooner that's got rid of, the better. And that may be something that gets rid of in 2019.
Yeah, right.
It may be that Queensland will actually say 6 stars only.
I know you've done a lot of work on actually looking at the way houses, how they actually perform in the environment. Is from that information some general correlation between if my home is a 6-star home, what percentage of the year is that home being comfortable? Because it's all about, the stars are all about thermal performance, so what is it trying to keep it into that comfort zone? How long does it try and roughly?
Yeah. So if you
Comfort zone, how long does it try and roughly?
Yeah. So if you look at the physics behind the star ratings, not actually look at the stars itself, in southeast Queensland, for example, a 6.5 star house will mean that that house naturally will deliver internal temperatures of between 20 and 26 degrees around about 65% of the time.
Yeah.
Which means that you have to buy comfort for 35% of the time.
Yeah.
Whereas a 9.5 star house will be 20 to 26 degrees naturally 95% of the time, so you only have to buy comfort in a heater or an air conditioner for 5% of the time. So if the cost difference between a 6-star house and a 9-star house may be a couple of $1,000, might not be anything at all, but you're saving on how much comfort do you have to buy.
Of your, from a star rating point of view, what are seen as being some of the most important elements to get a higher star rating? So roughly, you know, some ideas that an average person might be able to say, hey, if I was going to short list of things that are going to help my star rating, what are a few things that might help?
Anywhere other than the tropics, orientation would be the first thing. The shading, so that like a shady hat, the roof of the house, and making sure that you don't get any summer sun on your walls or windows.
Yes.
So the size of the roof and the overhang and the colour of your roof, because that's the part of the house that's most exposed to the sun.
Yep.
How many windows, what size the windows are, where they're placed are all subservient to that initially.
Yeah.
And we find obviously we go and get a star rating. What from the information you found out, the correlation between the computer model of 6 stars and the as-built format, is there a bit of an Australia-wide trend to say if it's 6 stars, what is it actually building it?
Yeah, so the National Energy Efficiency Building Project showed that they suspect that the as-built houses are 1.5, 2 stars less than what they're actually approved for.
Rating process that goes out, do you think that most builders and clients are probably using it for compliance, or are they using it to enhance their design?
Definitely only for compliance. Most buildings in Australia are just, I need to have this piece of paper in order to get approval to have it constructed. No one's looking at what it actually means in terms of running cost, or will this bedroom be too hot or too cold, etc. Whereas its true value, the simulation tools are as a design aid to say, okay, what can I do what happens if I have a dark roof or a light roof? What happens if I have an R2 or an R3 insulation? What happens if I just slightly change the size of the window or the location of this window? So we're not using it to make better houses. We're just saying, a star, and it's useless.
I agree, and we have this situation we found with the process of our innovation homes of trying to map them from their most primitive format into hopefully their most evolved version, so you can quite often see costs. And the thing that surprises me is quite often it's not a very expensive thing to actually move from a 6-star home to an 8-star home, for instance. Might be a very limited cost, and that's a massive benefit. How do we compare to the rest of the world? Are we getting anywhere? Really badly?
Extremely badly. Extreme. We're probably about 20 years behind Europe.
Wow.
And about 10 years behind.
In those other parts of the world, what has driven change? So has that been the government's jump up and down, or has the market provided examples where people have said, hey, I want that?
In Europe, because heating has been their major thing, so energy security.
Right. And it's almost like we're shooting ourselves in the foot being the lucky country because we have abundance of these things. We think we can be excessive with them, whereas the rest of the world has realised when you have a scarcity of them that it really makes you be more hyper aware of how much more performance you can get out of your building. Definitely. And I think, like you mentioned before, it's not it's not isolated with parenthood, but certainly once you have an understanding that someone else has got to take the planet over after you,
Yes.
maybe those things become more important or more aware of them.
What I'm
Maybe
doing now is impacting on my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids. I've got to do something about it.
Yep.
So our family set a family target then of energy efficiency of can we get down to 1 kilowatt hour per person per day?
Wow.
And that's still our target.
yeah, right.
And we're getting close.
You're getting close.
Yeah, so we're about 1.5 kilowatt hours per person per day. And
And how many people are?
that's for 2 people.
Yeah, right. So, you know, what's an average house in, say, Townsville use? I think it's got to be up around the 30
Townsville
or
would be
35.
around about 25 to 30. I would
Yeah,
I
so
would think
that's-
South East Queensland's, they say it's about 18, 19, but I think that excludes a lot of gas use.
Yeah. So that's 9 kilowatts each, and you're trying to get back to 1. So that's pretty cool.
Thanks, Wendy, for taking the time to drop over. A truly inspiring story and great information for us all. Thank you. I also wanted to say thank you to Rowan and Jasmine for all their help.
This one's recording now.
When did you turn 50 again, Ron?
Oh, it is recording. You had pressed record already.